Can you blah, blah, blah? Well, what do you mean by blah, blah, blah? Stop deflecting the question. Answer yes or no. It's a simple question. Now, in this scenario, you would be perfectly rational to refuse to answer the question until the questioner makes it clear what they mean by blah, blah, blah. They have to define blah, blah, blah. Because you can't answer something that you can't conceive. Now, this is the same as asking a question which combines two conflicting concepts. This makes it impossible to respond. That's because something inconceivable is beyond the realm of possibility and impossibility. It's a notion that doesn't even have a coherent concept, just like blah, blah, blah. Now, there are things that are possible, and there are things that are impossible, and then there are things that are inconceivable. For example, imagine a black horse. This is both possible and conceivable. Now, imagine a unicorn. This is impossible, but it's conceivable. We can imagine a horse in our minds and put a horn on it, and you have a unicorn. We acknowledge that the impossible can exist in our imagination, and God can do the impossible. He can create a unicorn. But now imagine a married bachelor. Now, this is something inconceivable because a bachelor is by definition not married. Questions that are contradictory and inconceivable with conflicting definitions actually don't even warrant answers because they are incoherent. Now, let's get to the topic of this video, and let's get to the main question that low IQ atheists commonly ask. For example, can God create a rock so heavy that he can't lift it? For the untrained mind, the question seems to pose a dilemma, where regardless of if you answer with yes or no, you've limited the omnipotence of God, because he either can't create the rock or he can't lift the rock. But when you actually put this question under the microscope and you analyze it and you strip away all the fluff, you realize that what the question is really asking is just, can God make himself non-omnipotent? Now, this is inconceivable because God by definition is omnipotent. So it's basically just playing with definitions. This is equal to me asking you, can you look up, down? Because up and down are contradictory. They're in conflict with each other. The same way God by definition is omnipotent, and non-omnipotent contradicts the definition of God. The fact that you can look up and down doesn't mean that looking up, down is conceivable or that you should be able to do it. And this isn't a limit on your ability. It's just a testament to the nature of inconceivable questions. The same way God being able to create anything and also being able to lift anything doesn't mean that God should be able to create something that he can't lift. And it doesn't mean that this is something conceivable. Because omnipotence doesn't come into question by contradictory and inconceivable questions. Now, ultimately, the atheist will say, well, why can't God do something inconceivable? Being able to do inconceivable things should also be in the definition of omnipotence. Then all you have to do is simply answer, fine, God can create a rock so heavy that he can't lift, and then lift it. Then the atheist will respond, but that's inconceivable. That doesn't make any sense. And then all you have to do is lay back and say, well, according to your definition of omnipotence, God can do the inconceivable.